A cry in the wreckage. The cold wind moved through the silent trees. Eli walked slowly, carrying a small toolbox in one hand. His boots made soft sounds on the wet leaves. The planet was quiet, almost too quiet. He had lived alone here for many years, fixing old machines and building small tools. He liked the peace, but today felt different. As he reached the edge of the forest, something shiny caught his eye. It was buried under broken branches and dirt. Eli stopped. His heart beat faster. Smoke. He ran forward and dropped his tools. A small escape pod, half buried in smoking, lay between the trees. Its metal was twisted and parts of it were still hot. Something had crashed here recently, maybe just hours ago. He stepped closer and knocked on the side of the pod. No answer. Then, a soft cry, a small, weak sound. Eli's eyes widened. He knelt down and used a piece of metal to pry the door open. The pod hissed, and steam rushed out. Inside, a figure moved. It was not human. A small alien girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, lay inside. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes large and glowing faint green. Her clothes were torn and her forehead was bleeding. She looked scared. But more than that, she looked alone. Eli reached out slowly. "It's okay," he whispered. "I won't hurt you." She flinched, but didn't pull away. Her eyes locked with his. She was shaking badly. Eli took off his jacket and gently wrapped it around her. "We need to get you inside," he said softly. He carried her back to his small wooden cabin. The walk was long, but she didn't speak. She just held on to his shirt, her hands small and cold. Once inside, he placed her on his bed and turned on the heater. She curled into a ball, watching him carefully. "I'm Eli," he said, pointing to himself. "Eli?" She didn't answer. He brought clean water and a soft cloth. Carefully, he cleaned the blood from her head. She didn't cry, but her eyes filled with tears. "It's okay. You're safe now," he said. He cooked warm soup and tried to give her some. She smelled it but didn't touch the spoon. Then slowly she reached out and took it herself. She ate with small bites, as if unsure if it was real. That night, Eli sat near the fireplace while she slept. He looked at her, so small, so out of place. She didn't belong here. What had happened to her ship? Why was she alone? At midnight, she woke up screaming. Eli rushed to her side. "Hey, it's okay, it's just a dream." Her eyes were wide, glowing brightly in the dark. She pointed at the door with fear. Eli stood up and grabbed his old scanner. He stepped outside and checked the area. Nothing. But then, a faint sound. Like something moving quickly between the trees. Eli narrowed his eyes. "Is someone out there?" No answer. He went back inside and locked the door. The girl was still awake, her hands gripping the blanket tightly. He knelt beside her. "You're safe here," he said. "I promise." She looked at him, and for the first time she whispered something, a word in a soft, broken voice. "Mother." Eli's eyes softened. Whoever she was, whatever her story, she had someone out there, a mother who was missing, or worse. He didn't ask questions. Not yet. She wasn't ready. The next morning, the girl explored the small cabin. She touched everything with curiosity. Tools, wires, even Eli's old backpack. She didn't speak much but stayed close to him. He found some paper and gave her a pencil. She sat down and drew slowly. When she finished, she handed him the paper. It showed a large alien woman, tall, wearing a long robe. Behind her, fire and smoke, and next to her, the small girl, crying. Eli stared at the picture. "Your mother?" he asked. The girl nodded once. He sat down beside her. "We'll find her," he said. "You're not alone now." But that night the sensors around his cabin blinked red. Something was out there, watching, learning to trust. The morning sun rose behind the misty trees, but the fear from last night still hung in the air. Eli stood at his cabin door, eyes scanning the woods. His sensors had picked up movement. Soft footsteps, not human, not wild animals either. Something had come close and left. Inside, the alien girl sat on the floor near the heater. She stared at the wooden walls with wide eyes, holding the same blanket he had wrapped around her the night before. Eli placed a bowl of warm food in front of her. She looked at it, then looked at him. "You're safe here," he said again slowly. "Eat." She nodded, but only touched the bowl with her fingers. Eli sat a few steps away. He didn't want to scare her. She needed space. But she also needed help. As she ate slowly, he noticed something strange. Her hands glowed faintly when they touched the bowl. The heat didn't seem to bother her at all. She looked at Eli, noticing his curiosity. She placed her tiny glowing hand on her own chest and said softly, "Zari." Eli blinked. "Zari, is that your name?" She nodded once. He smiled. "Okay, Zari, I'm Eli." He pointed to himself again. "Eli." She gave a small smile. Barely. There, but it was the first sign of trust. For the next few days, Eli taught her simple words. She picked up fast. Water, food, sleep, fire, and even safe. Her voice was soft, almost musical, but her eyes carried a heaviness he couldn't ignore. She started following him around the cabin. When he worked on machines or checked the generator, she stayed close. Sometimes she helped without him asking, handing him tools or mimicking his actions. But there was always a shadow in her eyes. At night, she would sit near the fire and draw pictures. Always the same theme: her mother, a broken ship, and strange tall creatures with red eyes. Eli began keeping a weapon nearby just in case. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Zari froze while walking outside. She pointed toward the forest and said one word, "Watcher." Eli turned immediately. His scanners were silent, but his gut told him she was right. He checked the perimeter. Nothing. But when he returned to his console inside, he saw it. A small, blinking signal. Cloaked drone detected, just beyond the tree line. He grabbed his pulse, rifle, and stepped outside. The drone hovered, completely silent, shaped like a spinning crystal with red lines glowing across it. It was watching the cabin. Watching her, Eli fired once, sharp and fast. The drone exploded in the air, burning silently like a firework. When he walked back inside, Zari was curled in the corner, breathing fast. He knelt beside her. "It's gone," he said. "No one will take you." She looked at him with glassy eyes and asked in a trembling voice, "Why help me?" Eli was surprised by her question. He paused for a moment, then answered truthfully, "Because you didn't ask for this. Because I've been alone too." Zari looked down at the floor. Then she reached out slowly and took his hand in both of hers. That night, Zari didn't sleep in the corner. She lay on the bed, watching the stars through the small window, holding the drawing of her mother close to her chest. Eli didn't sleep much either. He sat at his console, replaying the drone footage. The symbol on its side wasn't from any known trade or rescue fleet. It was from a hunting clan, one known for chasing down royal escapees after political coups. Zari wasn't just some random alien child. She was hunted, and now he was involved. Outside the window, the wind picked up again, but this time it carried more than cold air. It carried a warning. The unseen. Threat. The next day, the sun did not shine. A gray sky hung over the forest, and the wind was cold and sharp. Eli stood outside, silent, watching the treetops. Something had changed. The peace he once knew on this planet was gone. Inside, the cabin. Zari sat on the bed, holding a soft blanket around her shoulders. She looked at Eli through the window. She didn't speak much that morning. She didn't have to. Eli's mind was still on the strange drone he had destroyed. It wasn't just spying, it was marking. He checked his screen again. Now multiple signals blinked on the radar, all of them moving slowly toward his location. "They're closing in," he muttered. Zari walked over to him. Her eyes were calm, but she knew. She pointed to the blinking lights and whispered, "Hunters." Eli turned to her. "You know them?" Zari nodded. Then she touched her arm and slowly rolled up her sleeve. Eli's eyes widened. There, glowing softly under, her skin was a symbol, an ancient mark written in alien script. It pulsed with a golden light. "I was marked at birth," Zari whispered. "Mother is queen. I am heir." Eli leaned back. He had just been trying to help a lost child, but now he understood. Zari was royalty, and those drones were not. Here for rescue. They were here to erase her. He stood up fast. "We need to move." But Zari grabbed his arm. "They will find me, no matter where we go." Eli took a deep breath. "Then we won't run. We fight. Together." That evening, Eli prepared his small cabin like a trap. He set up energy mines around the trees, placed camo sheets over the roof, and loaded his old weapons. Tech from Earth's last war. Zari helped without fear. Her small hands moved fast, following his orders, understanding more than her young age should allow. When night fell, the woods went silent. Eli and Zari sat near the door, waiting. Then it happened. A strange clicking noise echoed from the trees, not loud, almost like insects, but sharper. It came from all directions. Zari's eyes widened. "They are here." Suddenly, one of the mines exploded. Bright blue light flashed through the window. Eli rushed to the control panel. 3 drones were moving fast, too fast. He pressed a button. Metal spikes shot from the ground. 2 drones destroyed. The 3rd one made it to the door. Zari screamed as the cabin shook. The door was hit hard. Something clawed at it from outside. Not a drone, a creature. Eli grabbed his rifle. The wall near the door cracked and a tall alien stepped through. Its armor was dark, and its eyes glowed red. It wasn't just a hunter, it was one of the enforcers. The being growled in a deep voice, speaking its own language, but Zari understood. She stepped in front of Eli and shouted, "I am Princess Zari, daughter of Saraka. You will not take me." Door. Hunter paused, then laughed, but before he could move, Eli fired. The shot hit the creature's shoulder. It stumbled. Zari raised her hand, and the mark on her arm glowed brighter. Suddenly the walls pulsed. Lights inside the cabin responded to her signal. The entire cabin changed. Hidden alien tech long asleep came to life. Zari had triggered it. The hunter turned, but it was too late. A beam of golden light shot out from the ceiling. The hunter screamed, twisted, and vanished in a flash of energy. Silence. Eli looked at Zari, breathing hard. What did you do?" Zari stood quietly. "The cabin. It belongs to my people, hidden long ago. Only royal blood can wake it." Eli was still in shock. "Why was I living in a royal base all this time?" he whispered. Zari answered softly, "Because fate brought you here. Outside, the forest was burning, but inside the cabin, the light was warm." Zari sat down again and said, "More will come." Eli looked out the window, then back at her. "Then let them come," he said. When the sky burned again, 3 days passed. The forest outside Eli's cabin was quiet again, but it wasn't peace. It was the silence of waiting, the kind of silence that comes before a storm. Zari stayed inside most of the time. She helped Eli fix old devices, check the hidden defenses, and draw new plans on the walls. She didn't laugh, she didn't smile, but she was stronger now. Her eyes no longer held only fear, they carried fire. Eli watched her, wondering how a child could carry the weight of a world. That night the sky changed. First, it was just a soft hum, barely there. Then, the stars began to flicker. A dark shadow passed over the moon and Zari stood at the window, silent. "They found us," she said. Eli stepped outside and looked up. The stars were no longer stars. A giant ship, black and shaped like a sharp blade, hovered in the sky above the forest. No sound, no warning, it just appeared. They're not here to talk, Eli said. Suddenly, a beam of red light shot down from the ship, not toward the cabin, but toward the mountain nearby. The mountain exploded in a wave of fire and rock. Trees flew into the air. The ground shook like thunder. Zari screamed and fell to her knees. Eli ran to her. "We have to go now." "No," she said. "That ship, it's not them." Eli froze. "What do you mean?" "That ship, it's not the hunters, it's Royal." Zari's glowing mark began to pulse again. Then from the edge of the fire, a new figure appeared. A tall woman dressed in flowing armor made of crystalline light walked calmly through the flames. Zari gasped. "Mother." Eli looked at the woman, stunned. The tall alien woman stopped a few steps away. Her eyes, just like Zari's, glowed, softly. Her skin shimmered under the firelight. She spoke slowly, her voice deep and smooth. "You are the one who saved my daughter." Eli nodded, still holding Zari's hand. "I didn't know who she was. I just helped." The woman stepped forward. "I am Soraka, Queen of the Starblood Throne." Zari ran to her and hugged her tightly. Soraka held her close and closed her eyes for a moment. Then she looked at Eli. "You gave her shelter when no one else would. You risked your life." "I didn't think. I just acted." Soraka smiled softly. "That is the difference between humans and the rest. You act with your heart, even in fear." Then, the ground rumbled again. The black ship in the sky began to fire at random points across the forest. Soraka turned to the light, eyes narrowing. "The hunters have followed me. They do not care about royal blood anymore, they only want silence." Eli raised his weapon. "So we fight." Soraka looked at him, surprised. "You would fight for a world that isn't yours?" Eli smiled faintly. "It became mine the day your daughter knocked on my heart." She watched him carefully, then nodded. "Then come with us." Eli blinked. "What?" Soraka turned toward her ship. "You are already part of this war. If you stay, they'll kill you too. But if you come with me, you may help save something bigger." Zari looked at Eli with wide eyes. "Please." The forest burned behind them. The cabin would not last. The sky was full of fire, and the stars held enemies in every direction. Eli looked at the ship, then back at the girl who trusted him. He had lived in silence long enough. "All right," he said. "I'll come." Zari smiled for the first time. Soraka raised her hand. A beam of soft light wrapped around them. They rose into the air. As the ship door closed behind them, the cabin below vanished in an explosion. The enemy had reached it, but too late. Above, the stars watched silently as a new story began. The mother's plea. The ship was quiet inside, but not in a cold way. It felt alive. Walls glowing softly, floors humming gently under their feet. Eli stood in the center of a wide chamber, unsure where to look. Everything around him was alien, beautiful and strange. Zari held his hand tightly. Queen Soraka led them through glowing corridors. Guards in crystal armor stood on both sides, watching him closely but not with hate, with curiosity. Eli had saved their princess. That made him important now. They entered a round room filled with starlight. The ceiling was open to space, protected only by a transparent shield. Dozens of stars blinked above. Soraka turned to Eli. "You must understand what is coming," she said. Eli nodded. "I'm listening." Soraka waved her hand. A map appeared in the air, a glowing map of space. "The Starblood Empire has fallen," she said. "The royal houses betrayed each other, and the hunters you saw, they're not just soldiers, they are part of something worse." Eli stepped closer. "Worse how?" "They belong to the Silent Crown," she whispered. "They erase bloodlines. They erase stories. Once they kill a royal, no record of that person remains. It's like they never lived." Eli looked at Zari. She was watching him, eyes full of trust. Soraka's voice broke slightly. "Zari is the last child of the royal blood. If she dies, my people will forget everything we were." Eli swallowed. So why me? Why bring me here? The queen looked at him carefully. Because Zari listens to you. She trusts you. And, if we are to survive, she needs you by her side. Eli sat down slowly. You want me to, what? Protect her? Stay on the ship forever? Soraka walked closer. No. I want you to stay because she already sees you as part of her life, and because you've proven something most of my people forgot. What's that? He asked. You protected someone with no reason, no reward, just kindness. Eli looked at Zari. He remembered the way she had clung to him in the forest, how she had learned his language, drawn her memories, warned him of danger. He thought he had saved her, but maybe she had saved him too. Soraka spoke again, softer now. I beg you, not as a queen, but as a mother. Stay. There was silence. For a long time, outside the stars moved slowly. Somewhere far away, the silent crown was still hunting, still watching. Finally, Eli spoke. I'll stay. For her. Zari smiled. Soraka bowed her head. Then you are no longer just a protector. You are family. Just then, an alarm rang through the ship. One of the guards rushed in. My queen, he said, we have a message. From the hunters. Soraka turned. Play it. A dark figure appeared in the air. Its voice was cold and sharp. You are hiding the child. We see you. We are coming. The figure paused, then added, and the human who stands beside her, he will fall first. The image vanished. Zari stepped behind Eli. Holding his shirt tightly, Eli stood tall. Let them come. Soraka's voice was calm now. Then we prepare. The ship changed course. A war was coming, but this time the child was not alone, and neither was the human. A home between stars. The ship moved quietly through space like a whisper across the stars. Eli stood by the wide glass window, staring at the planet below. It wasn't Earth. It wasn't even a place he could name, but it was beautiful, covered in golden forests and blue mountains glowing under two suns. This is our safe world, said Queen Soraka, standing beside him. Hidden from most maps, only trusted ships can land here. Eli nodded slowly. And the hunters? They won't find us. Not yet, she replied. But they will search. Zari came running into the room, holding two small training blades. She had learned fast over the past few days. Alien tech, alien language, and even self-defense. She handed one blade to Eli with a big grin. Come, she said. Practice. Eli smiled. You sure? I think you're getting faster than me. She lifted her chin proudly. I am faster, but you are stronger. They practiced in the training hall while alien guards watched in quiet respect. Zari moved like wind. Eli blocked her moves and laughed. For the first time in years, he felt joy. But as night fell and the stars blinked above them, the peace began to fade. Zari came to Eli's room that night, holding a glowing data crystal. I want to show you something, she said. He sat down, beside her. She placed the crystal into the wall. A hologram appeared. It showed her homeworld before the war. Tall crystal towers, bright skies, children playing under floating lights. My father ruled with kindness, Zari whispered. But others were jealous. They took everything. Only Mother and I escaped. Eli didn't speak. He only placed a hand on her shoulder. I miss him, she said. I know. Eli answered softly. I miss people too. The next day, Soraka invited Eli to a council meeting. The room was full of leaders from different alien worlds. They argued in many languages. Some didn't trust humans. Others feared Zari's bloodline would bring more war. But when Eli stood up to speak, the room fell silent. I'm not one of you, he began. I didn't grow up in royalty. I'm not special. I was just a lonely man on a forgotten planet. He looked at Zari, sitting beside her mother. But I found someone who needed help, and that made me feel alive again. He turned to the others. You want peace? Then protect her. Not because she's royal, but because she's kind, brave, and willing to fight for what's right. For a moment, no one said anything. Then one of the council members stood, a reptilian being with sharp eyes. We support her, he said, and we protect the human who stands with her. Others followed. After the meeting, Soraka met Eli in the garden. You've done more in days than I have in years, she said. I just spoke the truth, Eli replied. She looked up at the stars. The silent crown will attack again. I know. She looked at him closely. You could still leave. We could hide you. Earth would take you back. Eli shook his head. Earth stopped being my home the day I found Zari. She smiled quietly. Then let me offer you something. She pulled a small pendant from her robe and handed it to him. What is it? He asked. A symbol of unity, she said. It means you're no longer an outsider. You are part of our house. Eli took the pendant, his fingers shaking slightly. It felt warm, alive. That night, as he stood with Zari on the ship's deck, watching stars move slowly across the dark sky, she looked at him and said, I'm not afraid anymore. Why? He asked. Because you're here. And in that moment, Eli knew. He had found something far greater than a quiet life. He had found a home between stars, protector of the future. The warning came during the third sunrise. The peaceful world where Zari and Eli had found shelter began to shake. Soft winds turned into violent storms. The stars above blinked unnaturally. Soraka stood on the command deck, her voice calm but her eyes full of worry. They've found us, she said. Eli was already in his armor, half human-made, half alien-forged. The pendant she had given him now glowed on his chest, reacting to the presence of danger. Zari stood beside him, wearing light armor of her own. Her eyes showed fear, but her hands were steady. What do we do? She asked. Eli placed a hand on her shoulder. We protect our people. From above, the Silent Crown's warship appeared, blacker than space with twisted metal wings and thousands of glowing red eyes across its surface. It didn't send a message. It opened fire. Beams of dark energy rained down from the sky. Mountains exploded. Forests turned to ash. The ship's shields held, barely. Inside, Soraka gave the order. Launch the defense grid. All guardians to their posts. Eli ran with the other defenders through the glowing corridors, straight into the heart of the storm. This time, he was not alone. This time, he chose to fight. The first wave of enemy drones crashed through the outer dome. Eli raised his rifle and fired with perfect aim. Zari fought beside him using her mother's old blade. Her movements were graceful, precise, royal. Together, they drove back the attackers. But then, something larger came. A creature, tall, armored in black with the mark of the Silent Crown across its chest. It moved through fire like a god. Its eyes burned with hatred. The creature raised its weapon toward Zari. Eli stepped between them. The creature struck. Eli's shield shattered. His arm bled. But he did not fall. He stood firm. You'll have to go through me first, he growled. The creature struck again, but this time the pendant on Eli's chest pulsed. A wave of energy burst outward, blinding the enemy. Zari screamed, "Now!" Together they fired. The creature fell. Silence returned. Outside, the enemy ships turned. The Silent Crown had lost their prize, and they knew it. They retreated. The battle was over. Later in the healing chambers, Zari sat beside Eli's bed. His wounds were deep, but he smiled through the pain. "You stayed," she whispered. "I told you I would," he replied. Queen Soraka entered the room and placed her hand on Eli's. "You are not just a protector," she said softly. "You are family, and you are future." Eli didn't speak. He simply closed his eyes and listened to the heartbeat of the ship, the heartbeat of something greater than himself. In the days that followed, Zari was officially crowned as the next heir. Alien leaders from across the stars attended, and Eli stood beside her, dressed not in armor but in robes of unity, marked as the first human guardian of the star bloodline. The people cheered, not because he was powerful, but because he had chosen to stand, to protect, to care. The stars above sparkled again, and far away, back on Earth, no one knew the quiet man who once lived alone in the woods had become something else entirely, a protector of the stars.